Hello, President Obama. Our family, we're small business owners, and we're seeing a marked decrease in revenue due to customers having less discretionary income. Are there any plans to help small businesses ride out the storm?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat? I missed just part of it. No, not the whole thing. You're a small business owner.
Uh-huh. And
you were saying that you've seen something happen to your revenues, but I couldn't hear you.
We've noticed a decrease.
A decrease.
Right.
Well, look, this is part of why we passed the Recovery Act. We passed a package of $787 billion over 2 years. This is the largest economic recovery package ever been passed. And it includes tax cuts. So everybody should be seeing a slight increase in your paycheck. It's not in a lump sum, it's spread out. Each paycheck, you're getting a little bit of money back that you weren't getting before. So that's putting money in people's pockets. We are rebuilding our infrastructure all across the country. So Governor Richardson, I know he's put in a whole bunch of proposals to rebuild roads and bridges and infrastructure. The mayor of Albuquerque is here. I know that he's working on it. You know, the nice thing about infrastructure projects, it's a twofer. Not only does it put people to work right now, especially a lot of folks who've been laid off from the construction industry, which has been weakened, but what it's also done is it creates the framework for long-term economic growth. Because if we've got better mass transit, if we've got high-speed rail, if we are rebuilding our electricity grid to get clean energy from the places that produce it to the places that need it, all that will generate economic growth above and beyond the short term. So that's another element of it. Part of what we've done in the Recovery Act is just make sure that the economic damage is not worse. So we've provided states additional resources to retain teachers and retain police officers and to make sure that if you do lose your job, you can keep your health care through COBRA, which prior to this bill was really hard for most folks to afford because you had to pay the full costs of your health care without employer subsidy, but now the government's picked up the subsidy, and that allows a lot more people to keep health care. So we've been doing a lot of things through the Recovery Act. The other thing we're trying to do is to stabilize the housing market. And so we have programs now in place that have helped boost refinancings, making millions of people who weren't eligible to get their homes refinanced at lower rates. That's like a tax cut. That's like money in people's pockets because your monthly rate will be lower. And if you have not recently refinanced, you should take a look at what banks are now offering because interest rates have gone down significantly, and the programs that we put in place have helped to spur on some of those refinancings. We're also trying to stop the rate of foreclosure. Now, this is hard to do because the housing prices have gone down so far that some people, they're just unfortunately not going to be able to stay in their home. They bought too much home given their incomes. But people who are at the margins, what we've done is we've said to the banks, negotiate. The banks will be better off and the consumer will be better off if you avoid foreclosure. And everybody takes a haircut. You know, the bank has to lose a little bit of money on what they were expecting on principal and interest. On the other hand, the homeowner, if they make this agreement with the bank, they've got to agree that when prices start going up again, they give up a little bit of equity to repay the bank. But either way, everybody's better off, including the community, if people stay in their homes. So there are a whole bunch of steps. There are a whole bunch of steps that we've been taking, and we're starting to see improvements in the housing market. We're starting to see slight improvements in some of these other areas. But I have to tell you, this was a big economic problem that we had. This is like nothing that we've seen since the Great Depression. And as I said, New Mexico's been fortunate partly because of some good administration from the New Mexican government, but also because New Mexico wasn't overbuilt at the same pace. It did not have some of the same problems as some other states. But for the country as a whole, we took a big hit. I mean, Wall Street just was gambling with a lot of people's money. And they were taking risks they should have never taken. So we've seen trillions of dollars of wealth removed, and it's going to take some time to catch up. And a lot of people are still paying off their credit cards, and a lot of people are trying to get out from under the debts that they had accumulated when times were better. And so we're going to have to set what I'm calling a new foundation for growth, where people are less reliant on debt, they're living more within their means, businesses are engaging in more sensible business practices, they're investing in the future and the long term and not short-term profits. We are focusing on clean energy, we're reforming our healthcare system, we are boosting our education system to produce more engineers and more scientists, and retraining our workers so that we've got the most productive workers in the world. That's the strategy that we're going to be pursuing in the months and years to come.